What's up, you all? We're gonna jump right into it. There was a clip that Angela Stan King had on her page, and it was a clip of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Talking about racism, and he said something that was egregious and outrageous. He said that racism was innate. I'm going to let you listen to him say it, then I'm going to comment on that.
Eliminate racism. How do we eliminate it? By calling people eliminate racism. How do we eliminate it? By calling people on hate speech and canceling them and doing this. It's an important aspiration. It'll never work. Racism is innate. The remedy for it is to give young children confidence so that when they encourage racism, they're not internalizing it.
I'm gonna play it again. You can't really hear him because he has that voice, but let's see if we can play it again.
Eliminate racism. How do we eliminate it? By calling people on hate speech and canceling them and doing this. It's an important aspiration. It'll never work. Racism is innate. The remedy for it is to give young children confidence so that when they encourage racism, they're not internalizing it.
So, Robert F. Kennedy said that racism is innate. There's nothing you can do about it. He said the solution is to encourage young children when they come in contact with it. Now, the problem with his statement is that race in itself is a social construct. All social constructs have to be taught. Nobody is born with an innate social construct. They have to be taught to the individual. For example, there's two famous books, Tarzan, Lord of the Apes, and The Jungle Book. This is situations where two boys were raised in the jungle by animals. And when they came in contact with civilization and social structures, they seemed out of place because they were raised by animals. So the social constructs had to be taught for Mowgli and Tarzan. The same thing with quote unquote racism, which I don't believe, but racism has to be taught, but race has to be taught first. So when a child says, Mom, Dad, why do I look different than other children? It's the parent's job to give them an honest and truthful answer. You are different because different human beings have different skin pigmentations based on where they originated from. Like, it's not deep. It's not anything spiritual. It's not anything political. It's just literally, if you stay close to the equator, you're going to be darker. If you stay further away, you're going to be lighter. It's just that simple. Like, it's not deep. It's not deep. But the problem is that RFK Jr. is running for president. So a person that's running for president should know this. So why would he say that racism is innate? Why would he say such a thing that we all know, or we should know, that isn't true? You mean somebody is born racist? Come on, it doesn't make any sense. If race is a social construct, it has to be taught, right? Okay, but he's running for president. So my question is, we know he's not stupid. We know he's not dumb. So why would he make such an egregious statement? I'll tell you. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on one second. My lips feel dry, man. I can't find my. Oh, here it goes, right here. My lips feel dry. I'm sorry. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. Get you some non-petroleum. Get you some non-petroleum lip balm. Okay, so the reason why RFK Jr. said this is because he is a liberal. This is a liberal talking point. This is a communist, Marxist talking point. When he says that people are innately racist, who is he talking about? When he says that people are innately racist, who is he talking about? Talking about Hispanics? Talking about the blacks? Talking about the Jews? talking about the immigrants, talking about the Asians. Who is he talking about when he says that people are born innately, inherently racist? Who is he talking about? He's talking about white people. He's talking about white people. No one's going to get on the stage and say that black people are innately racist. No one's going to get on the stage and say Hispanics are innately racist. No one's going to get on the stage and say Asians are innately racist. No one's going to get on the stage and say that Jews are innately racist. No one's going to get on the stage and say that immigrants are innately racist. So what can you say on stage as a message that most people will accept? That is that white people are innately racist. Welcome to the anti-white agenda, even by your beloved RFK Jr. running for president. I told you all before that the anti-white movement is a movement against God, because what they do is they attach all of the godlike qualities to white people, and then they get the world to condemn the white people, ultimately condemning God. Now, Angela Stan King is on fire for RFK Jr., and I get it. But I'm going to say what I said before. And I have no, listen, I love Angela Stan King. I have no problems with her. But I'm going to say what I said before. The notion that black people need something is satanic. The Bible says that we are to be the lenders and not the borrowers. Let me go to the scripture. See, I don't think I'm making it up. Hold on. Let me go to the scripture. Let me just go to the scripture. Let me go to the way. Let me go to the way real quick, so y'all won't think I'm making it up. Somebody told me I'm always spreading false information, but couldn't tell me the false information I was spreading, but just wanted to show me that he knew I was spreading false information. Of course, he was a bliggity black male. Where's my version that I want, though? Oh man, why I gotta do all this? Why? Crazy. Deuteronomy 15:6. For the Lord thy God blesses thee as he promised thee, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, but thou shalt not borrow. And thou shalt reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over thee. So you see, the Jews took this to heart. Black folks claim to be the Jews, but black people stay in the borrowing position. Black people are spending $1.8 trillion a year. Black people stay in the borrowing position, but they can't be the chosen people. The Jews abide by this. Y'all don't. But Deuteronomy 15:6, for the Lord thy God blesses thee as he promised thee, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, but thou shalt not borrow, and thou shalt not reign over many, and thou shalt reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over thee. So scripturally speaking, we are to be the lenders and not the borrowers. So the fact that you want to be a borrower of this system, you want this system to give you some, you want handouts from the system, is contradictory to the word of God. Where does it say the 48 laws of power to despise the free lunch? Again, anybody saying that black people need something is doing the will of Satan. Black people need to adopt principles that are conducive to having a functioning community. The problem is that black people skipped over the basics and started calling themselves kings and queens. No, you got to get married first. Your children got to be able to read and write and do math on grade level first. You got to stop having so many abortions first. You got to stop shooting and killing first. You got to manage your money better first. You gotta have a better diet first. You gotta be more healthy first. You gotta look at yourself and not be ashamed of yourself first. You see, black folks get over all the basic stuff and then jump straight to king and queen, God and goddess. No, baby steps. So again, this notion that black people need something is contradictory to the word of God. What black folks need is to go to God's word. That's what black folks need. Black folks don't need handouts. I might not even got the video yet of Byron Allen talking about, oh, and I'm just mad I didn't get the video, but Byron Allen talking about that the problem with America, well, he listed a few problems of how basically America is going against black people in these certain areas. But he focused on education. Everything that Byron Allen listed deals with culture, not racism. Your culture has to want those things. So your culture can't be built on death, destruction, and damnation, but then you're saying we need some positive things to help us grow. America can't grow unless black folks grow. That's a lie. Growth in the black community stopped in 1970 and America still kept going. That's a lie. So Byron Allen, he seemed like he was down for the cause, but he's really not. He's another liberal Marxist puppet. You cannot make these black children want to read and write. You all were complaining because you all weren't graduating. So then they came up with No Child Left Behind. You all asked for this. You all said, we can't graduate because of racism. Okay, No Child Left Behind. We can't read and write and do math because of racism. Okay, No Child Left Behind. And y'all said good. I worked in the school system and I know how it was. A child could literally piss off the whole entire school year. And then the last week of school, they would have an opportunity to make all the work up. You all asked for No Child Left Behind. You see, when your hands are like this and you're not ready to receive from God, you're going to get poisoned from the enemy. The gray area is a lie. You're either receiving from God or you're receiving from Satan. And it's just that simple. So Byron Allen talking about education, but what he's saying is a lie. The things that he is listing deals with culture. Your culture has to want those things. If your culture doesn't want those things, you're not going to want it. And it's already been proven that black folks are not willing to abandon black culture. And since black folks are willing to abandon black culture, guess what that means? That means nothing's going to work. I don't care what Angela Stanton King tries to do. I don't care what these Republicans try to do. I don't care what these Democrats try to do or these liberals. It don't matter what nobody does. Black culture is going to reject it every single time. But let's continue. Let me go to Angela Stanton King because she asked a question and I thought that she asked a very good question. I just don't see. Here she goes.
What's up, everybody? So look, I put up a post earlier today and it was a post of RFK speaking to a group of people. And we were talking about racism and he was explaining how racism is innate. And I happen to believe and that is true. And not just innate, just from white people. I think black people as well. I mean, we are even born with this, whatever you want to call it, where I guess they say it's colorism, you know, light skin versus dark skin. You can see now, if you're paying attention, that Nick Cannon actually has some type of wilding out boxing match, light skin versus dark skin. My question is this: if racism is not real, or if racism doesn't exist, explain to me the black maternal health crisis. Explain to me why more black babies are aborted than being born. Explain to me why Planned Parenthood is strategically placed in black.
Well, I'll tell you why. Answer great questions. First of all, nobody is forcing black women to get abortions. Now, it would be different if white people were hopping in vans and school buses and rounding up black women and making them get abortions. That's not what's taking place. Black women are going down there willingly as a form of birth control. So again, everything that Angela Stanton King is listing are cultural problems. You see, what you all have done is you've created a culture amongst yourselves that the system is able to profit off of. The system can't profit off of morals, standards, and values and principles. It can't. It can only profit off of decadence, destruction, and damnation. So the fact that Planned Parenthood, the majority of the officers are in the black communities, is telling on black people. You see, the Asians gonna say you can't put it in our neighborhood. The white folks gonna say not in our neighborhood. The Hispanics might say it can be over here, maybe, but they probably won't go. So the only group of people that would allow such an institution to be in their community are black people. Black folks would allow an entity in their community that literally promotes the death of their lineage. You know why? Because it's cultural. Because black culture says abortion is okay. Black culture says no, don't snitch. Black culture said violence is okay. Black culture says abortion is okay. Black culture says the music, if it's destructive and violent and filled with death, you can play it. Black culture says how it looks is more important than how it is. Like, this is black culture. So what Angela Stanton King doesn't realize is that the culture that she's a part of will always support Satan's plan. And again, the system can't feed off of morals, character, standards. The system can't feed off of people following God's word. So the reason why Planned Parenthood over 80% can be in the black community is because black folks want it there. The reason why there's a liquor store in every corner is because black folks want it there. The reason why there's drugs in the black community is because black folks want it there. It's simple. They even said that the train used to come into the hood and it would stop and the doors would open up and there would be guns on the train. Now, imagine this scene. Y'all all in the hood, a train stopped, the doors open up, y'all go look, y'all go over there, and there's guns in there. Now, what makes you grab those guns and take them back to the hood and shoot your brother and your sister and your children? It's not white people. What's making that person grab that gun with the intent of shooting someone that looks just like them? That wasn't taught during slavery. They didn't teach you all during slavery to kill each other. So where's that coming from? Then they said they had a U-Haul trucks coming to the hood, open the doors up and guns would be in there. What was making these black men take those guns to shoot at each other and the police? You can talk about police brutality, but quiet is kept. The police started getting more violent because of what was on the streets with the AKs and the hollow points. So the police had to adapt to the war zone on the streets. They're not going to tell you that, though. I'm going to tell you the truth. The police was getting hit with all kind of military grade weapons. So they had to adapt to the climate. All that walking through the neighborhood, whistling, getting cats out of the trees, them days over with. So my question is, what made those black men take those guns to cause death, destruction, and damnation? The same spirit that makes these black women get over 1,000 abortions a day. because they're indebted to a culture that is from Satan. Black culture is satanic and demonic, and nobody wants to say it. Everybody wants to tiptoe around it. You say they put drugs in the community. They flooded the block with crack. Then what made y'all sell the crack? What made you use it? What made you give crack to a woman that was 9 months pregnant? What made you give crack to a woman that was 9 months pregnant? What made you take sexual favors from a woman's daughter for the crack? She didn't have any money. Here, take my child, give me the crack. What made y'all do that? Slavery didn't teach that. You see, if you take a step back and you really look at it, everything that black folks are doing, slavery didn't teach it. Because if the slaves had black culture, nothing would have got done. If the slaves were involved in black culture, nothing would have gotten done. It would have been chaos and destruction. Let's continue. You said Byron Allen's childhood is actually an example of not subscribing to victimhood. I know, but guess what? He got paid by Comcast, so guess what they told him? We give you this money, you better toe the line. Remember, he was suing Comcast. If we give you this money, because Comcast is a liberal Marxist company. If we give you this money, you got to toe the line. That's why they say all money ain't good money. All money ain't good money. Because most of the money that's being handed to you comes with strings attached. Let's continue. Let's continue. Y'all remember last week we were talking about the white people were talking about black people, really black culture in that video. And I want you to listen to black people talking about black people around the same time period. So let me just do this real quick. Hold on 1 second, y'all. I'm sorry. So let me get this real quick. Let me do this real quick. Give me 1 second, y'all. 1 second. One second, y'all. Okay, I'm just give me 1 second. Bam. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. I'm back. L.A. Thorne, the Martian, said in Oregon, literally signed into law the requirements for graduation to pass math, science, and reading in the final test has been removed to help Negroes solve bigotry. 100% correct. That was signed in, like, I think 2021. The governor of Oregon went in the middle of the night, like 1 a.m. when everybody was asleep, to sign this. Not one protest, not one riot against this woman signing into law that because your child looks different than a white child, your child doesn't have any expectation when it comes to graduating. The white children still do. But the black and brown children have no requirements for graduation, but the white children still do. You know why? Because of the culture. Because white folks wouldn't accept that, but black folks would. And in that case, brown would too. So it's not racism. It's what your culture wants. Let's continue. Now, I first want to play what we played last week, and then I want to play. Well, let me just do this.
By 1970, there'll probably be 1 million Negroes in this city. And I know that people are concerned about this. They may not talk about it very often, but I certainly heard them shudder in church when he said there'd be 1 million Negroes in Los Angeles.
We shudder because we're saying, in essence, the majority of these people are not like we are. And we felt that maybe some of us felt we left the South because we were getting away from this problem. We are part of this exodus, too. But we are a little maybe embarrassed by the fact that here we're going to have a mass element come in that's going to create a tremendous social problem in the community to which we find a great deal of difficulty in relating to.
Well, I don't want to sound like a do-gooder because I really am not, and I'm somewhat of a snob.
Now, these are black people shuddering at the idea of there being 1 million Negroes in 1970. This was probably in the early 60s. This took place. But you see black, again, I'm going to play the other video of the white people talking to compare it to the black people talking now. Now, the narrative is that the white people are racist and that the black people are sellouts or indoctrinated, programmed. Why hasn't anybody ever examined the fact that black people aren't perfect? The assumption is that if I don't want masses of black people in my area, it's because I'm racist. But nobody ever talks about what the masses of black folks do when they go to an area. Look at Los Angeles now for black people and tell me what was the end result of this mass migration of black folks going to Los Angeles. These black folks you see in this video right here are a relic of the past. Let's continue.
No, but I do think that with these people coming in who are not our intellectual equals, nor are they of our sociological bracket, they're not to be a handicap to us. They'll find their own level. Now, I do sound like a snob, but I don't mean it this way. But they're used to living a certain way, and they, too, might rise of their origin and might one day be our associates.
The whole tone of this meeting is we're setting ourselves up as little puppet Jesuses. We can't help anyone else until we help ourselves.
Now, I have somebody in my group on Instagram right here, and it's yet another blickety black. Now, what nobody wants to talk about is what the masses of black people do when they go to an area. If you go to the cities that have the highest black populations, how do those cities look in the black areas? If black people were so great to be around, then that means when it's just black people around, it should be perfect. Why is it that when black folks all come together, they start blaming the white man? You notice that? You notice that when black folks come together in mass numbers, they always start blaming the white man. I want you to think about, 2 years ago, Baltimore had, and I saw Diamone in here, what's up? Baltimore had 300 and something headshots. Listen to me. Homicide headshots. Not spraying, spinning the block, headshots. It's one city. If I go to any city and go to the black neighborhood, I can expect 4 things: death, destruction, damnation, and decadence. Now, the person on my live on Instagram says, but nobody's perfect, Blanche. What they're really saying is, let black folks destroy it, then blame white people. That's what he's really saying. Let black folks destroy it and then blame white folks for slavery. You mean to tell me when the black folks got together and decided to have fraternities and sororities, when there were no white folks around them, they decided to make fraternities and sororities on their own, black folks. And guess what they did? Black people decided to have fraternities and sororities. And guess what they did? They said, if you ain't as light or lighter than a paper bag, you can't get in. Now, how is it the black folks experienced all this oppression, all this racism, and the first chance they got to do something decent, they did the same thing the white folks did, even worse. The brown paper bag test, white folks didn't make that up. Black folks did. Black folks got creative. Black folks got creative. At least after slavery, black people could join the workforce. At least after slavery, black folks could join the workforce. Them black fraternities and sororities said, if you're not a paper bag shade or lighter, you can't be in our organization. They don't care if you're a good person. They don't care if you have character. They don't care if you God-fearing. They don't care about any of your talents and gifts. If you don't look a certain way, you can't be in this organization. And this was black folks starting their own thing. This wasn't white people. So my question is, where we come up with the notion that black people were perfect? Because all this stems around black folks not being a problem. And we all know when there are masses of black people around, it's a problem. We praising melanin right now. We praising black skin now. But back then they said, you dark skin, you can't get in. The other fraternity and sorority came about because they couldn't get into the ones that were for light-skinned people. For light-skinned Negroes. The other fraternities and sororities came about because they couldn't get in because it was too dark. Now I got somebody telling me nobody's perfect. That is a satanic and demonic statement, and I rebuke it. I rebuke the nobody's perfect statement because the nobody perfect statements mean let me sin. Let me sin is what they're saying. Nobody's perfect. Let me sin. I rebuke it. Let's continue.
The Negro has had two professions, his own medicine, dentistry, law, psychiatry, and he's had the profession of being a Negro. And many of us have come out here to escape from this second profession of being a Negro. And we are out here a while and we're working in our own field, and then we find out that here these same problems are falling on the heels of 1,600 Negroes a month that come into Los Angeles. Now this gives us problems.
1,600 Negroes spilling into Los Angeles a month. Think about this now. Just 1,600 a month is causing these folks to have a meeting. 1,600 black folks coming to the city a month, which ain't a lot, is causing these folks to have a meeting. But y'all want me to believe that black folks are perfect. You mean to tell me the white folks and the black folks doing something, want nothing to deal with them? Come on, y'all. Come on. Come on, y'all. Let's continue.
It's our own view. It's our own identifying with these Negroes that are coming in with their carpetbags that causes us problems.
This is a basic embarrassment that we as Negroes have. We want to live together, yet we want to sort of scatter to the far winds and live amongst white people. We are brought up in terms of this, that to have
Our digital PDF, Black History Facts You Probably Didn't Learn in School, is full of black stories and facts that aren't usually taught in school. The PDF includes information that is often overlooked in traditional education and history books. The digital PDF can be downloaded and read at your convenience. You don't want to miss out on the chance to uncover the untold black history facts and stories. Click the link in our bio to support BHU.
So you had the one guy in there, you had the little Marxist in the end. Now the Marxist guy in there, he loves the fact that, and I've heard him speak before.
Yet we want to sort of scatter to the far a basic embarrassment that we as Negroes have. We want to live together, yet we want to sort of scatter to the far winds and live amongst white people. We are.
I think that's the same guy, remember, that was telling the kids to say they was black and they was proud. Remember that? That's that guy. I think that's him. Remember he had the children in the class telling them, I'm black and I'm proud, I'm an Afro. Remember he had the kids, he was programming them? That's that guy. Now this guy right here, he loves all these black folks coming in because he knows the black folks coming in and don't know anything. He got fresh meat with them. See, the black folks he in the room with have came from the bottom up. No excuses. We're going to apply God's values and virtues to be successful. That's not what he's about. He's an atheist. So you get all them black folks coming from the South to come to California. He's going to round them all up. Listen, you know the white man is going to come out here and get you now. You got to get with me. We got to fight these white people. We got to come together. Racism is the biggest lie told in history. Now you got black people in Los Angeles, California saying, we don't want these Negroes coming to our city. They even said it in church. There would be 1 million Negroes in LA and the whole church shuddered. The whole church gasped at the fact of 1 million Negroes in that city. Because you know why? Because they know if it's 1 million Negroes in the city, they're going to tear everything apart. And I'll be darned, all these years later, 2023, look at Los Angeles and look at black folks in Los Angeles. Sold out, Marxist, communist, impoverished, the works. Skyrocket. You can't buy, skyrocketed prices. Can't even afford to live in California. You go to California right now, they're going to tell you right now that down south is racist. Them folks in California ain't got nothing, but they're going to tell you that down south is racist. And I guarantee more folks, black folks, own a home down south than they do in California. How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet? You have black people in the 60s and white people in the 60s saying the same thing about the masses of Negroes. How could two people that y'all tell me was mortal enemies have the same viewpoint on the masses of black people? That woman said they mentioned it in church and the whole church shuddered. Everybody knows right now, if they get on the news right now and they say to your city, they say it's 1 million black people coming to your city, nobody's celebrating. If they get on TV and say there are 1 million black people coming to Austin, as liberal as Austin is, I'm telling you, they're not going to want it. We got 1 million black people coming to New York. They're not going to want it. We got 1 million black people coming to Portland, Oregon. They're not going to want it. Everybody knows this. So my question is, if everybody knows it, why are black people pushing for this? I'll tell you why, because they want chaos. They want death. They want destruction. We got 1 million black people coming to San Francisco. Nobody in America wants to hear we got 1 million black folks coming. Nobody. It would be the same reaction if somebody said we got 1 million immigrants coming. It would be the same reaction. This person said every time you say that racism is a lie, when your ancestors are rolling over in their grave, may the Lord bless you. My ancestors failed. So whatever I can say to get them in that grave rolling and being uncomfortable, I'm going to say it. Y'all failed. Y'all failed. Whatever I can say to get them ancestors wanting to break out their grave, I'ma say it. Y'all failed. Ain't no racism. You lied to us. How about that? The ancestors dropped the ball. The ancestors destroyed whatever chance we was going to have. They did it. The ancestors did absolutely nothing but put us 1,000 feet behind enemy lines. And when I mean enemy lines, I'm talking about Satan. The ancestors. So if I can get them to get upset, that's my goal. Dear ancestors, you failed. I don't give y'all no respect and no homage. Zero. I respect my grandparents, my great-grandparents. All that ancestor talk, I don't know nothing about them people. They failed. When I look back on history, I see a lot of crying and complaining. That's all I see. A bunch of crying and complaining. So, dear ancestors, may this wake y'all up and cause a new zombie movie. I got a film idea. A new zombie movie called The Awakening of the Ancestors. And in the film, I'm going to be going around preaching how they wasn't about nothing. And I'm going to cause them spirits to rile up and come and be a zombie apocalypse. And then we get to have war with the ancestors. Kind of like The Walking Dead. The walking kings and queens. The walking kings and queens. Let's have war. Talking about the ancestors rolling over in their grave. I wouldn't care if they rolled up out the grave. Hope they got some jewels and some money in there. I want all the ancestors to give. Listen, dear ancestors, come out your grave so I can see how much y'all got buried with y'all money and y'all jewels so we can come up. We need to come up. We need some money. That's right. Somebody's L.A. the Martian said that the day of the dead woke. Right. The day of the woke. Right. Wake the dead. I got a good film titled Woke the Dead. There we go. Let's make it sound ignorant. Woke the dead. All the ancestors are getting up out of their grave upset at what I'm saying. Good. Let's wage war against them. I've been itching to get y'all anyway. Let's continue. Yeah, just like Thriller. Except, just like Thriller, except, when they come out, they're going to be trying to, talk all that. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. They gonna sound like zombies, but then talking that righteous talk. Hey, young blood, we got the fight. Chopping their head off. Hey, y'all, we got to come to get. Cutting their head off. Cutting their head off. All the ancestors. Go back to slavery and everything. Go back to the ancient, go back to the Hebrews, all of them. I want all of them to come out their grave. I want all of them to come out their grave. I do. We need to have war. World War Z. World War W. World War Woke. Let's continue. Let's continue.
A common tool of white supremacy is to pit us against each other, just as these women are pitted against each other. I'm feeling that right now. Is anybody else? Friends, the majority of humans, if asked, would say that we want peace, an end to bombing and the death of children. But we are pitted against each other in harmful ways that keep us from achieving ultimate goals of peace, freedom, equality, compassion. We're divided by labels, the media, biases, even and particularly stories of our faiths.
You got a white liberal.
A common tool of white supremacy is to pit each other, us against each other.
Who determines who's taking part of white supremacy? Who determines that? So she's white, talking about white supremacy. So what role is she playing in white supremacy? I'm curious. Like, who determines who's in it, who's out of it? This white, like, how do we know who's a part of white supremacy? Like, how do we know this? Like, how do we tell who's a part of it? She just said that a tool of white supremacy is divide and conquer. Divide and conquer is a tool that everybody uses. That's not white people. That's everybody does divide and conquer. Everybody that wants to gain power does divide and conquer. It's not racial. That's not racially motivated. Everybody does divide and conquer. They're making you believe that every negative human attribute goes to white people, and all the rest that is good goes to people of color. It's satanic. It's evil and wicked. It's a lie. This notion that black people are perfect is a lie. It's a lie. This notion that because somebody doesn't want somebody in their space, that they're racist. Black people were fighting to go eat a ham. You heard MLK. MLK said he started the civil rights movement because he wanted to be able to get a hamburger and a cup of coffee with the white folks. MLK said, y'all heard it. MLK said out of his own mouth, I wanted to be able to get a hamburger and a cup of coffee with the white folks. You mean to tell me the black hamburger wasn't good enough? The black coffee wasn't good enough? Oh, y'all was on something else. Why would you want to be around some people that don't want to be around you? That's evil. Why would you want to be around some people that you are saying are racist and mean you harm? Somebody's lying because they both can't be true. You can't say white people are harming us, but we want to be around them. You cannot have both. You got to pick one. Which one is it? Were the white people bad or not? If they were bad, why did you want to sit next to them and eat food? It don't make any sense. But he said what it was. I wanted to get the white hamburger and the white cup of coffee. That's what he said. So in other words, the civil rights movement was started from jealousy and envy. You wasn't supposed to covet what your brother had. You wasn't supposed to covet what your neighbor had. You see how they break these God's commandments and got y'all running behind this stuff? That man said he wanted the white hamburger and he wanted the white coffee, which means he had everything else. He just felt like the white folk stuff was better. This is communism and Marxism. Having a boogeyman, having an enemy, and it's white people. White people are 10% of the global population, and they get blamed for everything. White people are 10% of the global population, and they get blamed for everything. Anyway, this white woman is in a room and she knows there are certain talking points to give her credibility. I already know you say I'm reaching. I know I'm reaching into the graves of the ancestors and I'm pulling them up out of there. I am reaching. You're right, I'm reaching. My goal is to shake up every ancestral spirit. I want to come out of them graves. I want a zombie apocalypse with the ancestors. That's what I want. So yeah, I'm reaching. But MLK said it though. Listen now, they're not going to say that MLK was wrong. They're going to say that Blanche is reaching. Because when you get down to the core of this stuff, what black folks are asking for is to let Satan reign supreme. When you get past all this race stuff and all this inequality, all this stuff, it's to let us sin in peace. The same thing they were stressing Moses out with. They told Moses, let us sin in peace. Either let us go back to Pharaoh or let us sin over here. What's ironic is that even in the days of the Exodus from Egypt, a bunch of black folks getting together still wasn't good back then. The first mega church was the children of Israel going to the promised land. A bunch of black folks together, and what was the end result? God started wiping them out. Wasn't no white folks around, wasn't no Pharaoh around, wasn't nobody around but these Negroes. And what did they do? They started cutting up. They completely turned their back against God. Completely. They was murdering, stealing, coveting, doing everything evil and wicked under the sun with no Pharaoh around and no white folks around. And the same thing is present today. You get a bunch of black folks together, ain't nothing good gonna happen. If you don't believe me, look how many athletes have millions and millions of dollars and they ain't built nothing. Look how many athletes have millions and millions and millions of dollars and they ain't built nothing. Why don't basketball players have gyms in every city? Multiple. Why don't football players have fields in every city? Multiple. There should be a monopoly on the sports world because so many black athletes have money. I think it was Under Armour that offered Kevin Durant they was going to build him a basketball arena. He said he didn't want it. Under Armour said, you come with us, we're going to build your facility. Kevin Durant said, no, I don't want it. I want these Nikes. I don't blame him. Let's continue. Stimulated students said it was the original Freaknik when Moses went up to the mountain. When Moses went up to that mountain, and we see remnants of it now with Freaknik and hedonism and all that stuff. Black folks get real decadent at Carnival. Black folks get real decadent right now. They get real decadent and real foolish. So you can imagine back then. Because when the cats away, the mice will play. So when Moses left, there was a celebration. So just imagine your most decadent black events times 1,000. Just imagine your most decadent black event. Think about Moses going to that mountain and these black heathens going berserk. Wasn't no police around. Wasn't no government. Wasn't no Klaus Schwab, no Bill Gates, Elon Musk, no bloodline. None of that stuff was around. It was just black people and God. And what was the end result? Moses came down and said, that was the first time we ever heard the N-word. Was Moses came down that mountain. He said, these, and he broke the tablet. Moses said these and broke it. That was the first time we heard the N-word. Somebody said it was the first cookout. Leatherface said the first cookout. Yeah, but anyway, but that same spirit exists today. That same spirit. And again, it's not because black people are black. It's not because of their appearance, so to speak. It is because they black culture, but it's really the culture. Everything I'm saying is not passed down through generations. It's because of the culture. People aren't born innately to be black. They got to be taught this. There's a script, so a child has to be programmed and brainwashed to be black. Even starting with the color. The child's going to say, Mommy, what's my color? Mom going to say black. Child going to say, but I'm brown. No, you black. So the programming even has the child just confused from an early age. Wait a minute, my skin is black, but they calling me brown. No, my skin is brown, but they saying I'm black. Kids start scratching their head. Well, that must mean that being black ain't about appearance. So what's making me black? That's the first step in the programming. What's making you black if it isn't appearance? Now you got to look for things to validate why you're black. And the rabbit hole is endless till they go down to Satan. You go to hell. Y'all know what Moses said. Y'all know good and well Moses was like, y'all. I know Moses was like, man, and they said Moses was stuttering, but I bet that came out clear. Matter of fact, when he probably said it, everybody probably stopped to look because he didn't stutter. Huh? I never heard that word. It started with an N. Is there an N in Hebrew? I don't know. It started with an N. It's that word. That's where the N word came from. Let's continue.
In this country, allowed a level of anti-white racism to persist and be promoted in this country that is extremely unhealthy, dangerous, and toxic, and is being used to destroy the blessing of America. And what is mainstream corporate media, what social media, what has Black Lives Matter, Antifa, all the secularists, what have they been jamming down our throat? That religious faith here in America, Christian faith.
Hold on. I'm going to start this over. Thielen said they was roasting the first barbecue rib with the children of Israel. Children of Israel created actually the first. They had the crab legs. When Moses came back, they had crab leg, crab feast. They had shrimps, lobster. They had pork chops, ribs. When the cats away, the mice will play. So the first decadent meals came with more, because before it was just that manna from heaven. They got tired of that. So they invented soul food. Moses came back. He was like, what do I smell? What is that savory dish? Aaron, come here. What is that? Master, they roasted the pig. What? Yes. I'm just telling y'all. So again, without the influence of white people, if we go through a timeline, black folks managed to get put out of the garden. Okay, let me so y'all make everything black. Before white folks came on the scene, black folks managed to get thrown out of heaven, thrown out of the garden, flooded, and bombed in Sodom and Gomorrah. Think about that. Before white folks came on the scene, black folks managed to get thrown out of heaven, kicked out of the garden, managed to sin, managed to commit murder, managed to introduce homosexuality and all the freaking crazy stuff, managed to get flooded out, managed to get bombed out like Baghdad, bombed out and depleted. All that happened before white folks even came on the scene. And then when white folks came on the scene, they were trying to save the Messiah. All that happened, and the Romans, Pontius Pilate and his wife, trying to say the Messiah, he's saying, I don't find no fault in this man. They yelling, kill him. So when we see white folks come on the scene, the first riot, the first protest was against a black man. Y'all say, right? The first protest and riot was against the black man. He black, ain't he? The Messiah is black. So the first protest and riot was against a black man. Them Jews hadn't been bucking against them Romans. They only started bucking when it came to the black man. So you mean to tell me you got the racist Romans sitting here and you got the almighty holy Jews sitting over here, and they ready to tear the whole city down over him not killing a black man? This is y'all story. It's not mine, it's y'all story. This is what y'all say happened. Because if y'all make them people black and y'all make the Messiah black and y'all make everybody black, then that means on this story, the white man was trying to save the world. Even his wife got a vision from God. Even his wife got a vision from God. But y'all say they're not righteous. They ain't spiritual. White folks ain't spiritual, but Pontius Pilate's wife got a vision from God. Most of y'all been on this earth for a long time, and y'all ain't got no visit from God. Y'all ain't got one. But let's continue.
We have in this country allowed a level of anti-white racism to persist and be promoted in this country that is extremely unhealthy, dangerous, and toxic, and is being used to destroy the blessing of America. And what is mainstream corporate media, what social media, what has Black Lives Matter, Antifa, all the secularists, what have they been jamming down our throat? That religious faith here in America, Christian faith, the Christian faith that made this country what it is today, that religious faith, that's the white man's deal, and you're a sellout, and you're a colonizer, you're an evil person if you have respect for Christianity. That's the white evil man's religion.
So Jason Whitlock drives home my point even further, that the anti-white movement is the anti-God movement because they have associated the Bible to white. And if the Bible is white, you heard Robert F. Kennedy, white people are innately racist. So if white people are innately racist and white people create the Bible, then that means that the Bible is what? Innately racist. The anti-white movement is the anti-God movement. Because to the black mind, white people act as God because they quote unquote control everything. They have all the power. So if they have all the power to the black mind, the white people are gods. That's why black people make white people a monolith. They just say white people, whiteness, white supremacy. Just a blanket term. And again, if there's no redemption for white people, meaning if white people are born racist, and no matter what they do, they'll always be racist, and they have no redemption. If a person has no redemption, what is their punishment? Now, in the world, they usually give you what? Life imprisonment or the death penalty. When they rule or they judge and rule that this person is beyond redemption and beyond hope, they either have to be in prison for the rest of their life or they have to be executed. Welcome to the anti-white agenda. If white people don't have any redemption, then doing something to them that's that extreme isn't bad. Because guess what? They're never going to change. This is the narrative. This is the mindset. Now, keep in mind, they've been telling you that you're the minority and you're being treated bad. But in actuality, white folks are the minority and they're getting treated bad. That sounds crazy, don't it? That sounds crazy, don't it? There is an anti-white agenda. And if you participate in the anti-white agenda, you're doing the will of Satan. Because the anti-white agenda is a satanic agenda. You cannot serve God and be anti-white. Now, you can be anti-white as a classification and as a status of a person, but you being anti-white based on appearance is satanic. Let's continue. Let's continue.
Open his front door in the morning and he would see a bundle of sticks tied with string just laying on his front doorstep. And that was all it took. Because that was saying, next time it'll be dynamite. There were 48 families who were documented landowners in Forsyth County at that time, black documented landowners at that time.
In a matter of days, 1,100 black people were displaced, eclipsing any wealth and progress they'd made during Reconstruction.
They had to leave Forsyth County, regardless of what you had, what you owned, you had to leave.
Elon Osby is a descendant of one of those families. Her grandfather owned somewhere between...
There's a famous quote from a character in the movie Friday. His name was Smokey. Smokey said, and I quote, "Ain't nobody gonna run me out of my hood. I'm Smoke Dog, baby. Remember that." That was Smokey. Smokey said, "Ain't nobody gonna run me out my hood. I'm Smoke Dog, baby." How did these people run y'all off y'all land? What you mean you got to go and it's your land? If it was just that easy, why wasn't land taken everywhere then? If it was that easy to just take somebody's land, why wasn't it happening everywhere? But Blanche, it was happening. They were taking. Stop. If you own some land and somebody says, "I'm coming to take it," there used to be an old saying. They used to say, "Over my what? Over my dead body." So my question is, if black folks were so mighty, so powerful, they had all the melanin, the chosen people, they gods on the earth, they gods in the flesh. If black people got all them powers, then how could some hillbilly redneck white folks run them off their land? Y'all said y'all were gods. So how could some hillbilly redneck white people run y'all off y'all land and take it? No get back, no retribution, no revenge, just pack up and leave? Sound kind of soft to me. Let's continue.
Between 60 and 80 acres of land in Forsyth.
I have a home here that's on an acre of land almost, and you're really proud of that, you know, and to think that my grandfather had 80-something acres, it's staggering. It hurts, it's sad, and I can't imagine what my grandfather must have been feeling. Land was more important than money in the bank, and I'm sure that he was very proud of himself as a Negro man, you know, to have property like that.
Forsyth remained an all-white county for over 70 years, and that pattern of violence against black people continued.
Every decade I looked into, there was another episode of violence. There was another outbreak of really shocking.
Okay, so contradictory time. They just said that all the black folks had to get out of there. Now he's saying every decade it was acts of violence. So were they there or not? You see what I mean? When you start listening to this stuff, it don't make any sense. If black folks weren't there, there shouldn't be any acts of violence. But if black folks were there, then that means some of them stayed. It doesn't make any sense. That's the truth about it, Jarrell. These folks sold their land. And you know why they sold their land? Because they wanted to go to the big city. They wanted to go to the big city. This man just said constant acts of violence, but she just said they all got pushed out in one couple of days. So which one is it? If Forsyth County was an all-white county for 70 years, where were the acts of violence taking place if black folks weren't living there? What these people say makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense what they just said. Let's play it again. Let's play it again.
Had 80-something acres. It's staggering. It hurts. It's sad. And I can't imagine what my grandfather must have been feeling. Land was more important than money in the bank. And I'm sure that he was very proud of himself as a Negro man, you know, to have property like that.
Forsyth remained an all-white county for over 70 years.
You heard what she just said. Forsyth remained an all-white county for 70 years. I'm going to keep playing.
And that pattern of violence against black people continued.
Every decade I looked into, there was another episode of violence. There was another outbreak of really shocking.
So if Forsyth County remained all white for 70 years, then where were black folks being attacked? What they're saying doesn't make any sense. Either it was all white or it wasn't. Either the land got stolen and they got pushed off or they didn't, but you can't have it both ways. And what you'll find most of this propaganda is that it goes both ways. They get you on both ends. It was an all-white county and black folks lived there. It's insane. And at the end of the day, these people sold their land. Keisha's family, her great-great-great-grandfather came out of slavery and had that land. And they still got it. I know somebody in New York, their family got land in Virginia. So what I'm telling you is, how are these people keeping their land for hundreds of years, but in Forsyth County, they can't? It don't make any sense. If it was just so easy to say, I'm taking your land and it doesn't make any sense. Yes, Forsyth County in Georgia, yes. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Let me go to Hollywood real quick. See this.
Pop. What? Look, I'm not going down there to apologize for something I didn't do and pay for it on top of that. Why not? It's just a few lousy bucks on the signature. Who's going to know the difference? I will. What's the matter with you? You think education grows on trees? Now you're going to go back to that school and you're going to get that diploma if it's the last thing I ever do. Why don't we all just take it easy and talk this out? Now, if I may make a suggestion. Look, Uncle Ward, you don't understand, so why don't you just stay out of this, please? Lionel, I know you think I'm nothing but what you call an old Uncle Tom. Well, that's pretty close. But what you don't realize is that in my time, back where I come from, being a Tom was the only way to survive. Yeah, well, that's nice, but I'm not interested in ancient history right now. Lionel, I used to spit on 6 like you before breakfast. So you just listen. All right.
Now, notice he said being an Uncle Tom was the only way to survive back then. But y'all told me that white folks didn't care about that. Y'all told me that white folks didn't accept black folks. Y'all told me that being Uncle Tom didn't mean nothing. Y'all told me white folks was lynching, looting, and killing and pillaging, no mercy. But now y'all telling me if you was light skinned, now, keep in mind this too now. Y'all actually believe that when they tell you somebody was passing for white, that white folks couldn't tell. Y'all believe that when a person is mixed with black, that these white people couldn't tell. Y'all can tell, but they can't tell. Anyway, notice he said he had to be an Uncle Tom to survive. This goes back to the victimization mentality to make you believe that everybody black was ducking their head and stepping and fetching. I don't know about y'all, but my grandfather wasn't like that. I'm sorry. My uncle ain't like that. Like the men in my family didn't do that. So I can't even relate to what he's talking about. Let's continue.
Hadn't been for us old Uncle Toms, you young bloods wouldn't be around here today.
Now, yeah, I remember he played the alderman on Good Times. Now, he said, if it wasn't for us Uncle Toms, y'all young bloods wouldn't be around here today. The funny thing is, why wouldn't they tell the truth about Uncle Tom? Tell the truth. Why wouldn't they tell the truth about Uncle Tom? This should be a moment, right? Think about this script now. In this script, this would be a great moment to say, well, actually, Uncle Tom was this. This is who Uncle Tom really was. Why during this script they're writing with the lie that Uncle Tom was a sellout? What you gotta understand is that entertainment for black people is not entertainment. It's programming, it's conditioning, it's education, but it's not entertainment. So what they put on that screen is a reinforcement of the propaganda that the media puts out. So the media and Hollywood work hand in hand when it comes to black folks. Let's continue.
I remember the time when we Negroes... facts. Full of violence. It took us a couple of 100 years to get from nigger to colored. And it took me 25 more years to get from colored to Negro. So you'll just have to forgive me if it takes me a little more time to get to black.
Do he sound strong to y'all? He sound powerful? He said it took him a lot of years to get from nigger to Negro. Took a lot of years to get from Negro to colored. So give him some time before he gets to black. See the programming? See the conditioning? Nigger, Negro, colored, black, African American, back to black. Programming and conditioning, giving you a false identity and having you embrace it. Let's continue.
The point I'm trying to make is, I agree with you, son.
What? You mean you want him to stay out of school?
I didn't say that. I don't think he should sign an apology for something he didn't do.
All right.
But I do think you should go down and talk to the dean.
Oh, I get it. So you don't want me to sign, but you do want me to crawl.
No, I want you to go down there and fight to stay in that school. Except this time, use your brains instead of your hands. And show that dean who's the better man.
Yeah, you show him.
You really think it'll work, Uncle Ward?
Sure it will. Listen to your Uncle Ward. He knows what he's talking about.
Okay, I'll give it a try. You gonna be here when I get back?
Of course they will. Man just got here. You hardly had a chance to visit with him.
All right, I'll see you later. Uh-oh. Yeah.
All right.
Saw that? Saw that programming? Look how the enemy is so clever. Enemy had black folks believing if a person shook your hand a certain way, they was down. They could be the biggest scumbag on earth, but if they could, all right, give me 5 on the black hand side. If they could do all that foolishness, you're supposed to trust them. Programming, conditioning. Even today, somebody doing this makes them down. This right here is a virtuous signal. Oh, he down. He gets it. He with us. Biggest crook in the book. Just like during the Peter pandemic, the folks that wore the mask were the good people. Folks that didn't wear the bad people. Same concept. But when you led by the flesh, that's what happens. When you're led by the flesh, you get tricked easily because the flesh wants to be satisfied. All right, brother. All right, brother. Yeah. Don't mean nothing. Come on, blood. Come on, young player. Don't mean nothing. Foolishness. Same person doing this on Monday stabbed you in the back on Tuesday. Well, the funny thing about that, Miss Ree, is black folks couldn't tell that Rachel Dolezal was white. They couldn't tell. Now imagine a white woman pretending to be black and being the president of the NAACP chapter in Tacoma, Washington. Imagine how slow black folks got to be for a white woman to be pretending to be black. And that's why I keep telling y'all, it's easy to trick black people. It's not difficult because black people indulge in the tangible. They indulge in the physical. They indulge in the flesh. It's easy to trick black people. Just tickle them senses. What it looks like, what it sounds like, what it tastes like, what it feels. Listen, you got black folks. Let's continue. Well, that was a little episode right there. The Jeffersons. Well, we're moving on down. Let's continue. What is this? What is this? I'll play this first and I'll play this.
1943.
No, let me go to Hollywood again. Let me go to Hollywood. One more Hollywood. One more Hollywood, then I'm going to go back. Then I'm going to go to that. Bob Woods. I used to work with him, actually.
You're charging Negroes more than 20%? There's no way anyone can get out from under that.
If your bank wasn't legally prohibited from lending the Negroes, you do the same.
Within reason.
6%, fellas, huh? Let's get this done. The city will approve any new Southland Trust development in East Compton once all the original owners have sold.
Not a given.
Tell me my fucking business. Chicago, Baltimore, Lansing, Oakland, Seattle. Now that was foresight. Move just one black family into a decent white neighborhood, and the other homeowners will throw money at you faster than you can count it.
Negroes aren't stupid. Given a choice, even they don't want to live among other Negroes.
Nothing more American than people willingly paying double for something they can't afford in the first place.
And what happens once they realize they have been swindled?
Well, you could always ask Miss Koister if you could borrow a sanitary napkin.
If they make their mortgage payments, we win. If they default, we win.
Now, this is Hollywood. And Chado brought this up earlier. I think when Chado made the comments in the text thread, but because they're talking about black people, you believe it's true. This is where the black mind is. This is entertainment. This is a script. This is a Hollywood script. And because they're saying something that is reinforced by the media and a propagandized history, you believe what they're saying is true. Because they're talking about black folks being tricked, you think is true. Let's continue.
You pray they miss their nut, and then you put those houses right back on the market.
At another markup.
And by this time, it's an all-Negro neighborhood.
An entire population of Negroes who can't secure traditional mortgages.
Do you need an abacus?
Uncle, 6%.
Oh, there you go.
Now, notice in the clip, the white woman looks scared. So now we have racist white men who are also sexist and misogynistic and toxic masculinity, toxic masculinity. All those in that one scene. She looks terrified. They're being crooks and they're all white. This is all programming and propaganda. This is Satan. They wouldn't dream of making a film of black people doing wrong to white people unless it was in retaliation of white people doing wrong to them. Let's continue.
Blacks were prohibited from being naval officers. Eleanor Roosevelt was persuaded her husband to train them, so they selected 16 black.
Now, black people were prohibited from being naval officers, but the president's white wife said they need to be. America's racist, president's white, his wife is white. The white woman says they need to be able to be naval officers. Much like Pontius Pilate's wife said, you better not touch that man. You see how you see history repeating itself? They don't talk about it. Not the NAACP, not the Black Panthers, not the Boule, a white woman with power said, let them be naval officers. That means she laying in the bed at night thinking about black men in uniform, thinking about black men swabbing the deck, thinking about black men on the ship with no shirt on. Eleanor was getting hot and bothered. Eleanor might have been a freak, I don't know. She could have had a purely freaky motive, but Eleanor said, I want to see those black men in uniform. Let's continue.
College-educated men for training, the Naval Academy, not the Academy, Naval Training Center. The Navy says, aha, we're going to give these black cadets in 8 weeks what we give white cadets in 16, so they wash out. When these brothers found out what the deal was, they covered the windows in their barracks and stayed up all night and studied. And when they were tested, they scored in the 90th percentile. So then they said, well, they cheated. So they tested them individually. They scored in the 93rd percentile. 13 of them eventually became naval officers. They called them the Golden 13.
Now, the black man has been conditioned to believe that adversity is oppression. And so what the black man has been trained to do is he's been trained to avoid adversity. He's been trained to avoid it at all costs. He's been trained that if someone wants to put you to the test, that's racism. But these men were put to the test and they excelled. Did the white people honor them for excelling? The answer is yes. Now, when they'll tell you that a black person could do all that stuff and still not be a naval officer. But now we see from top to bottom honor being implemented, because after all of it, those men became officers. And matter of fact, they called them the Golden 13, not the Black 13, not the Negro 13, not the Unlucky 13, but the Golden 13. We play it again. One more time, play it again.
In 1943, blacks were prohibited from being naval officers. Eleanor Roosevelt was persuaded her husband to train them, so they selected 16 black college-educated men for training, the Naval Academy, not the Academy, Naval Training Center. The Navy says, aha, we're going to give these black cadets in 8 weeks what we give white cadets in 16, so they wash out. When these brothers found out what the deal was, they covered the windows in their barracks and stayed up all night and studied. And when they were tested, they scored in the 90th percentile. So then they said, well, they cheated. So they tested them individually. They scored in the 93rd percentile. 13 of them eventually became naval officers. They called them the Golden 13.
Now, Prudence said Eleanor was probably thinking about the wives of the black men. Oh, I heard she might have been, like Hillary Clinton, But I don't know. She may have been an exception for the men. I don't know, but she could have been. That's what I heard, though. Goddess said 94 viewers, 62 likes. She said, help your brother Blanche out. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Goddess. Thank you. But yeah, so adversity, and somebody put it in the chat, somebody said that I'm saying that adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it. The wise man said that adversity reveals character. So if it reveals it, then that means that these men had to already have a foundation. So what if you're being put through the test for God to get the glory? And somebody said these men earned their way in history. Think about these men having character and honor. They earned their way into history and paved the way. See, y'all believe that these white people all had evil and vindictive motives. But what if white folks were doing this, all of this stuff, so that nobody could come back and say they didn't deserve it? What if white folks were building a case for these black folks to say, no, we did this, this, and this, and they excelled? You ever thought about that? You ever thought about the strategy behind this so that nobody can come up after somebody and say they didn't deserve it? That's how God operates. God will qualify you. Man can't come back and say you don't deserve it. Man can't say you come back and you say you don't deserve it. Before David went to fight Goliath, he fought a bear and a lion and won. See, when God qualifies you, a man can't come behind you and say you don't deserve it. So what if maybe, just maybe, they were making a case for these men so that when they got to this position, could nobody say they didn't deserve it? Something to think about. Something to think about. All right, you all. That's all I have for today. Thank y'all for tuning in. Let me go to these super stickers. Sewing for Night, thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Always supporting. Vintage Goods, Willie, thank you so much. Always supporting. Thank you. Cruise Missile, always consistently. Thank you so much. Rick Hempstead, great show, Blanche. Tell all the folks God loves them all. God loves y'all. Thank you, Rick. Yes, and God does love you. Randall Hampton, thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you so much. And Danny Nightblade, thank you so much. A bit off topic, but Carolyn Bryant was innocent, yet many blacks still think she's guilty. Tilda didn't deserve to die, but he wasn't innocent. Rest in peace. I got to look into that Emmett Till story. I got to look into it. Matter of fact, I'm glad you said that. I might do a live dedicated to the Emmett Till story because we really only get one. We all know that when it comes to when it comes to them picking a story to use, it's compromised. So we know that. We know if they're picking a story, they pretty much orchestrated it. So I would love to just actually dive into Emmett Till and really see. We know about Harriet Tubman. I kind of want to do Nat Turner next, but Anyway, I love you all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I was supposed to come on Wednesday, but I came in on Tuesday because I had some time today. But I love y'all. I thank y'all so much, and I'll probably be back on Friday, honestly, because Friday. Anyway, y'all, I love y'all, and I will see you all on Friday. Thank y'all.